Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Today's stories are all work-related, so let's get right to it. Story number 1. Opie writes, So I work in orthodontics and have moved up pretty quickly because of my skill set, how I've been able to adapt to things, and my willingness to change things for the better. I honestly love my job, but I feel underpaid. I do all the front office work. I do it by myself if we are not seeing patients. We see patients about twice a week, where we have our ortho crew come in. I do insurances, Medicaid, phone calls. For lunch and bathroom breaks, the phone just rings and rings. Follow-ups, retention, collections, x-rays and photos, scanning everything in, solving patient and employee issues, training, preparing for days we see patients, etc. I do everything. So, about a month ago, I got super upset and started applying to other jobs because I honestly felt exploited and stressed. I have voiced my concern and stress for the past month and a half to the doctor and to my manager, and I have been heard, but no change has come at all. I had an interview for a same type of position for $5 more an hour, benefits, which I don't get now, and bonuses. The doctor at that office seemed great, and our conversation during the interview was great. I sat on this offer for a while and honestly felt horrible even bringing it up to management. I love my current job. I really appreciate my boss and everything he has taught me. He has given me the reins to do a lot of things and a lot of freedom, but $5 more an hour is a lot. So I finally had the talk with him today to see if he will match it or even negotiate, and his response was totally unexpected. He said he didn't want to play this game of me looking for a job every once in a while and asking for more. I never have. He was upset that I was even looking for something new, and he basically said he felt underappreciated. He almost basically told me to take it. I explained my situation at work when I'm alone taking care of everything and how unfair it is and how stressful it can be, and he seemed very apologetic at the end and said he feels like he has failed me. I am now torn. If this were your situation, would you stay or leave to take the new job offer? We'll get to an update from OP soon. First, my opinion and some comments. You can check the timestamps if you want to get straight to the update. I have to say, OP, you are wearing so many hats in your job. I don't think it's unfair for you to want an increase, and it's quite fair for you to go to your boss and ask him if he's willing to match the offer you've got. As for his response, I don't like that he was playing on your emotions and trying to guilt trip you. And you also mentioned that you've been talking about this for a month and a half and nothing changed. But let's get to some comments and then to OP's update. Benefits are worth hundreds of dollars per paycheck. Sounds like he realized his gaslighting wasn't working, so he switched to a fake sympathy. Edit. Since my post got traction, I would like to make another point. When I approached my work about them matching a new offer, 25% increase, they ultimately thanked me for giving them the opportunity to match instead of just putting in my 2 weeks. That is how a company should respond. Anything else is a sign to move on. OP replies, It's possible. The switch in mood and tone was the most unsettling thing in the conversation for me. Someone else comments, Wales, quote, I failed you, unquote, and then does absolutely nothing to fix what he supposedly admitted to failing. That's a guilt trip, not guilty conscience, at work. And someone else comments, Leave that crap. That's textbook manipulation to get you to stay. It's great that you love your job, but you can't let him get to you. Don't overlook the fact that the job offer includes higher pay and benefits. Look out for yourself, my guy. So OP did reply to several of the comments to that post, saying that she did accept the new job offer. And now we go on to OP's update. Hi everyone! I wanted to give an update. as it has been a crazy month. So as I, female 23, said in my last post, I work in orthodontics, and I had been given another job offer and had asked my boss if he could match the pay. He basically guilt-tripped me into thinking what I was doing was a betrayal towards him. The other job offer was $5 more an hour and offered benefits, which I didn't get at this job. I was only paid hourly, no benefits or paid time off. I had accepted the other job offer for more pay and put in my 2 weeks. However, a couple of days after, I was speaking with my manager, co-workers, those in marketing, etc., and many asked me to stay. The company is very laid back, flexible hours, I knew and got along with everyone. I was in charge of my own schedule and had been given a pretty high position within the company. So I used these reasons to justify staying. Like I said in my last post, I loved my job at this practice and really thought I was going to go far, but towards the end felt pretty exploited, but thought it could be remedied. So I decided to stay and let the other offer go. 2 weeks after this talk with the doctor, my manager suddenly tells me we need to talk, and I just think it's about work. And our training program I had initiated since there was no training set up at all at this job, and it was chaotic when we had new hires. Doctor was on vacation, so I had not seen him since the talk we had. She tells me she is the bearer of bad news and tells me I am being let go per doctor's orders. I can't even explain the surge of emotions I felt in that moment, but mostly I felt stupid. I felt foolish for thinking this was going to work out. I had this intuition since that talk with the doctor that something bad was going to happen, but I chose to ignore it because of how much I cared about these people, the company, and even the doctor. I had built a relationship with these people, and I guess I had been too afraid to let it go when the time came. As my manager was talking and trying to explain why, she looked like she was on the verge of tears after every sentence. Her and I had gotten really close in the time I worked there, so I did her the favor, cut it short myself, and told her I understood, packed my things and left. I left as gracefully as I could. I had lost the other job offer. It was a really tough spot I found myself in, and I hated myself for a while after being let go. I was unemployed for only a week, luckily. An old co-worker was great and helped me get my foot in the door at her practice that is already well established, and I got a job offer the same day of the interview. I am now employed at a well-known dental practice where I make the $5 more an hour I had asked for and benefits, paid time off, 401k, etc. I do a lot less at this new job, and everyone has their own role, so no one is overwhelmed. So it all turned out in my favor in the end, luckily. I wanted to thank everyone for their feedback, and I really should have listened to all the advice I was given. I can't even begin to tell you how dumb I felt. But I am young and learning how to navigate through life. But this is a lesson well learned and should be a lesson to everyone. Don't be loyal to anyone but yourself when it comes to employment. Like someone had commented in my last post, if you don't look out for yourself, who will? I won't be making this mistake again. Opie, I'm so glad that you got a new job, and I'm so sorry that happened to you, but this is kind of the thing that happens to a lot of people. They're overly loyal to their work, their colleagues, and then it backfires. But anyway, you've learned a lesson, and I think everything's going to be fine, and you've got all those benefits now, and that's wonderful. So in the end, without realizing it, that doctor you worked for, he helped you out. He made your life better. And I'm sure word is going to get back to him about it, if it hasn't already. Let's get to comments before we move on to our next story. Someone comments, I'm thinking the reason the co-workers begged you to stay is so they wouldn't have to do your job if you left. They already know you were being exploited and didn't want themselves to be next. And a final comment, Ugh, so hard to read this. Just grateful to hear you came out of it all on top. Story 2. Opie writes, "It has not been my summer. In early July, my partner of almost 4 years and I decided it was time our romantic relationship ended. In the following 2 weeks, I contracted a nasty bout of COVID and was out for a week. Then, the following week, my father passed away unexpectedly at the age of 51. As he was not married and I'm the eldest daughter, everything has fallen into my hands. My father and I had a golden relationship. We were best friends since the day I was born. We shared a love for good food and visited the restaurant I worked at often. We have incredible food. I won't disclose my workplace for obvious reasons. I messaged my general manager informing her that my dad had unexpectedly passed away, and she immediately told me not to worry about any of my shifts and told me to come back to work whenever I was ready. I was so grateful for such a considerate response to this tragic news, especially because serving is a very social position and I had no energy to give anyone except for myself in order to make it through each day. She saw the love we shared each time we came into my restaurant. After almost 3 weeks, today was my first shift back at work. Thankfully, it was slow, so I was able to ease back into my routine a little easier. At the end of my shift, the assistant manager and my best friend told me there was a gift from the restaurant staff. She presented me with a beautiful card with loving words from my co-workers and $600 in cash. Never ever in my life would I have expected this from a workplace. I am so grateful to work with such wonderful people at a job that I truly love. 3 weeks down and a lifetime to go, Dad." Opie, I'm so glad that you've got such wonderful co-workers, and I'm so sorry for your loss. Someone comments, "Not the ending I was expecting, but it was a pleasant surprise. Much love and condolences. Glad that you have a good support system to lean on in such crappy times." Someone else says, "My co-worker recently lost her dad unexpectedly as well, and our manager texted back, quote, 'Okay, well, you don't work until Monday and the funeral is Saturday, so what are you asking?' Unquote. I worked doubles to cover her morning shifts that following week. Managers can be heartless. I'm so glad yours aren't." And a final comment to this story. I was not expecting this to be a positive story. I'm glad you work there. Story 3. Opie writes, "I used to work at a cell phone carrier storefront. I had been there 5 years. I was a salesperson of the month multiple times and always had good numbers. I had a boss who was brought in as the store manager as part of a, quote, college new hire program, unquote, despite many in-store employees being way more qualified with life experience in cell phone sales for 15 plus years. Eventually, after she ran off many of the veterans, I was left to open the store one morning by myself, while the manager was on the floor greeting people. She had the biggest hard-on for micromanaging and always would stand over my shoulder, being critical of how long I would take with each customer. She didn't have any work experience, so there's that too. She would never open her own register. Well, this time I had about a dozen different customers needing help, and they were all lined up waiting and pissed. My boss comes over while I'm trying to go as fast as possible and says in my ear, quote, "You're taking too long, you need to move faster," unquote. I explained that each customer had specific needs and I must make sure they are completely satisfied to avoid a bad review call and get written up again. New policy where she would replay our call reviews in team meetings, where we all got to listen to customers tell us how horrible we were and even assault our appearance. She didn't take a hint, so I turned around and asked her to come with me for a second to the back. She followed me and immediately said, quote, "What's the deal? unquote. I said, quote, I think I'm done here. I can't work like this, unquote. To which she said, quote, if you leave, you know you can't come back, unquote. To which I simply said, quote, what a poor choice of response, unquote. I took out my store keys and handed them to her, much to her surprise, and walked out the store. I turned around and leaned on the public rail and watched through the window as she tried to deal with all the customers, and I smoked a cig. She then went back to the back, pausing helping the customers, and called the cops. She then tried to tell them I was loitering and wouldn't leave. She also told them I was harassing the business. The cops arrived and found out the truth and told her I did nothing wrong and I was allowed to be there on public property. As she rolled her eyes at the police, I reminded her that she's taking too long and the customers need her. I watched for another 10 minutes and left, if that. I may be petty, maybe, but she could F right the hell off. Well, that's it for this edition of Wow Drama Stories. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, leave a comment, and I'll see you again next time.